Hey, what's up guys, it's Matt with the Movement System. In this video, we're gonna talk about how to progress plyometrics. We have 5 levels of plyometrics that we can progress from 1 to level 5 being the most intense. So in this video, we're gonna talk about exactly what you need to know about each level, how to master that level before moving on to the next. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Okay, so to lay some groundwork here, I used to think that plyometrics just meant things like box jumps. Typically, this is the first plyometric that a lot of people think about as introducing to their athletes. But really, box jumps aren't even a plyometric exercise. Plyometrics involve landing and taking off using the stretch shortening cycle, meaning that plyometrics are a way that we store and release energy, so we actually need landing forces if we want to be doing plyometrics. So with our plyometric progressions, we're gonna work on fluidity of movement and we're gonna work on the ability to store and release energy, not just work on static box jumps. So let's go ahead and get started with level 1, which is what I would call extensive plyometrics. Extensive plyometrics means that these plyometrics are for building the tissue capacity to be able to handle more intense jumps. Extensive plyometrics are basically low intensity jumps in plyometric exercises. This could be something like a jump rope, for example. This is a really good starting exercise because it builds the capacity of the tendon to lengthen and shorten and store energy. We don't want to jump rope as high as we possibly can. Instead, the whole point of jump rope is to be smooth and fluid and efficiently store and release energy at a low intensity. Oftentimes we're jump roping for 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 60 seconds at a time, and that's the whole point of these low intensity, extensive level 1 plyometrics. We want to be doing longer duration, usually at least 5 to 8 minutes of plyometrics per day or at least every other day, and these are low intensity, recoverable, and can build that tissue tolerance. Importantly, we have everybody doing level 1 plyometrics. Whether you're just starting out as a beginner athlete or you're an NFL athlete at the highest level, you should be doing extensive plyometrics for at least 5 to 10 minutes a day. Again, that's because these build tissue tolerance so that way you can tolerate the more intense jumps in your program. So it's not like we get to level 1, we do these for a few weeks, and then we go on to level 2 and we forget about these. Things like jump ropes, single leg hops, rhythmic skips, and forward hops, and backwards hops, and all these other low intensity rhythmic jumps stay in your program year round and forever. If you do this and you're training these consistently, you'll notice that your tissues in your calf and your foot and your lower extremities are really able to handle the loads and the demands of higher level training that's gonna come in levels 2 through 5. So if you're wondering where to start with this, a good place to start with this is typically around 30 seconds of jumping rope, 4 or 5 sets, and then build up from there. Over time, make these a little bit more varied, introduce different angles, because again, the whole point is just general preparation of the lower extremities. Low intensity, don't go maximal, just be rhythmic and smooth. All right, level 2 is where we're gonna get into a really good plyometric exercise where we're alternating between a low intensity jump and a high intensity jump. This is a really good exercise for starting to really learn how to hit the ground hard and jump high. Specifically, we want to alternate between a pogo hop and a maximum vertical jump. This is a really good hybrid between the low intensity level 1 exercise and some of the higher intensity level 3 through 5 exercises that we're going to see. With this alternating pogo hop to vertical jump, there's a couple things that we really want to make sure we're getting right. Number 1 is arm swing. We want to make sure that we're scooping the arms and using the momentum of the arms to go up. A lot of people make mistakes with arm swing, especially when starting out plyometric exercises. You'll see the arms go back when they should be scooping and going up and adding to the movement. The benefit of alternating between a low jump and a high jump is that we're going to absorb forces really well and we're going to keep this very smooth. This is the type of plyometric that we'll have our middle school and high school athletes doing progressively forward over hurdles as well. They'll go high over a hurdle and then do a small jump, and then go high over a hurdle and then do a small jump. This is a really good way to teach beginner and even intermediate athletes how to ramp up their force to the task that they need to be doing. If you progress too fast with these and go straight into repeated hurdle hops, what you're gonna have is too long of a ground contact time, and it's not really gonna be training that stretch shortening cycle and the neuromuscular elements of plyometrics that we really want to be training. So it's really important that we're spending enough time here alternating between low intensity and high intensity jumps that we can actually get smooth and efficient arm swing, that we can get short ground contact times, and that we can direct training to the tendons and the ligaments in the way that we want to. Using this low hop with gather step is actually something that you can keep doing even at a very high level. We'll see Olympic athletes doing this exact technique. We'll see them doing a high jump, absorbing that force with the low jump, and then going into that gather step and another high jump. So these level 2 exercises are really important. If we master this really well and we get good timing and rhythm to it, then we'll be ready to progress to repeated hurdle hops with that short ground contact time and being reactive and explosive. All right, now let's go ahead and get into level 3. And level 3 plyometrics are bounding exercises. Bounding exercises are when we're essentially leaping from one foot to the next. Can kind of look like a power skip. There's a lot of different variations that could kind of fall into this category, but basically it's when we're going from one foot to the next in a smooth fashion, but starting to gain more distance here and a little bit more load through each leg. Again, our goal with these is to stay smooth, quick ground contact times, and be efficient here. So we don't want to go too far too fast, or we're going to get sloppy and have too long of ground contact times. So what I want you to do is just build up over time. So if you have yard lines on a field, you can go 1 yard and then a yard and a half, or you can go half a yard, then a yard, then 2 yards, whatever you need to do to build up over time. But over time, we want to be working towards larger bounds, hitting the ground a little bit harder, and being really smooth and rhythmic. All right, level 4 is where we really want to ramp up our single leg jumping. Specifically, the way that I like to do this is starting by jumping at ankle height, then working up to shin height, then to knee height, and keeping those ground contacts very quick. It shouldn't look like we're a basketball center like Shaquille O'Neal trying to make it down the court clomping the feet. Instead, we should be quick and bouncy off that foot. You might be worried about hitting the ground too hard, but actually the cue I like to give my athletes is attack the ground and try to hit the ground hard. The harder we hit the ground, the faster we're gonna store energy, which means the more we're gonna use that stretch shortening cycle and the more that we're going to train that neuromuscular system to store and release energy. We have to build up to this, so spend maybe a week or so working at ankle height, spend a week or so working up to shin height, and then spend a couple weeks working up to knee height where we're building up here. If you need to, you can even use a band assist here, so use a band to reduce your body weight as you're learning this movement. This is especially important for some of our heavier athletes who do want to train this pattern. Getting really strong and smooth jumping up and down on one leg is going to really carry over into our sprinting and into our other more intense plyometrics where we're alternating between legs. All right, and then level 5 is when we're going for maximum distance of any of the plyometrics we talked about before. So whether that's bounding or repeated broad jumps or even hurdle hops where we're going from one hurdle to the next, what we want to do here is go for maximum height, maximum distance with level 5. A good example of a really intense exercise in this level would be something like a cycled single leg hop, where we're going from right leg, progressing forward and landing each time on our right leg. This is a really intense exercise, and you have to be pretty strong and have good plyometric ability from the other levels to really be able to progress to this level and do it effectively. The way we're gonna do this level of exercise is with a lot of rest in between sets. So we want 5 to 10 seconds at most of a really intense plyometric effort, and then multiple minutes of rest. As an example, you might do this cycled single leg hop for 20 yards, and then you might rest for a full 3 minutes in between sets. We might only do 4 to 5 sets of these at the very highest intensity in one workout. Ideally, we want to spread our volume of plyometrics out throughout the week instead of doing it all in one training session. So if you're incorporating these plyometrics, especially these really intense level 5 plyometrics, try to spread them out to 2 or 3 sessions throughout the week and not have just one day where we do everything. If we have one specific plyometric day of the week, then there's a really good chance that that's going to lead to an overuse injury. Whereas if we spread it out to 2 or 3 sessions, then that stress is often much more well tolerated. A couple other notes that I want to mention: it's a really good idea to supplement this plyometric work with some isometrics. Isometrics are typically really well tolerated and they make your knees and your hips feel better. So I would recommend doing an isometric for your patellar tendon as well as an isometric for your hamstring tendon, like the ones we're showing here, to support this plyometric work and make sure that you're still feeling good. The best way to progress plyometrics is to stay healthy so that way you can continue to do them. I'll leave a link in the description below to some of the things that I recommend. Our training programs, including our vertical jump program, which goes through a plyometric progression over 12 weeks to help you improve your vertical jump, as as well as to the supplement Fortify by Legion Athletics that I recommend to all the athletes out there who are putting a lot of stress through their tendons and their joints. If you do have any questions about these exercises or plyometrics in general, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, smash that like button, subscribe so you don't miss any future videos, and we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks.